BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. My name is Chrism. I'm one of the hosts for the show. The other host, Amelia, is having internet problems, and she may not be able to join us on the program today. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and launch into this right now. Here we go. As many of you who have been listening to this program know, there is no set script for this show. I don't go around my day thinking of certain scenarios that I would like to talk about or things like this. Is a very extemporaneous type of a program. And within that understanding, I am given certain things sometimes that she wants to discuss. And one of the things that I feel the Kundalini in me is wanting to impart to you today is the idea that you can fall into darkness. You can have a bad experience. You can decide to capitalize on the hatreds, the angers, the fears, the dark side of the forest, so to speak. Just as easily as you can capitalize on the positive areas of Kundalini. And typically, you will get a smattering of both types of phenomena with you. You know, you'll get the intense levels of love, and you'll get the intense levels of connection, and you'll get the intense levels of wanting to do good things for other people, doing good things for the environment, doing good things that represent the goodness of the Kundalini. But at the same time, depending on how your life is going and how you've been living your life, other things may come to you. You may allow yourself to be duped into channeling an entity, the entity saying that it's the Kundalini, and you may get fooled into incorporating a being or a spiritual being that says it's representing the Kundalini and basically is lying, but nonetheless, you have bought into it, and because you have bought into it, you have allowed it access, and because you have allowed it access, you have allowed it to take root within you, and because you've allowed it to take root within you, you have allowed it to begin to program you into accepting it as that real thing. Just the same way as seeing the snake or the spider or the wolf or the praying mantis or the hummingbird or the eagle, just the same way as if when those are visiting you in your real life, you are making the connections between them and the Kundalini. Well, that also begins to plant a seed of grace within you, a seed of truth. Mother Nature talking to you, basically saying, hey, trying to get your attention into understanding that, hey, this is the real deal. This is not a fake thing, and this is not a possession, by an entity or things of that nature. A lot of it depends on kind of where your psychology is with it. I know a lot of people that want to be connected to ET, the starseed people. Well, I've worked with a starseed person for for over a year, a long time, on almost a daily basis, and as soon as her Kundalini came up to a certain point, well, that entity stepped in, said it's a starseed and it's all about the Kundalini, and then boom, that person split off from me and did her very best to marginalize what we had done on the one hand, and to accentuate what we had done on the other hand, in a way that would reflect poorly upon me. And, that's just the way it goes with this. So you can slip up. She will allow you to make mistakes. But if you do promise yourself and just feel the compelling within yourself to go into the forces of grace, to go into, the lightness of grace, the strong qualities of grace, if you allow yourself to look, this is why, this is really espoused strongly within the safeties. So if you allow yourself to move into the grace and you begin to want to express, loving, kind, truthful, caring, compassionate, honest, helpful, determined, surrendered, disciplined, strong, patient, and trusting qualities within your life, then of course you're setting yourself to understand what it is to have those qualities programmed within you. Kundalini is like the ultimate programmer. And as she is doing that programming within you, you are also, finding levels of harmony with what she's giving you. I was, in my early process, I wasn't really one way or the other. I was in, I had pain and I had need and I had wants and I had desires, but I wasn't attracted to dark matters. I wasn't interested in committing crimes. I wasn't interested in taking advantage of people. I wasn't interested in hurting other people. And so my natural inclination was to go towards, the qualities that I just mentioned. And as I went towards those qualities, well, the Kundalini accentuated those qualities, expanded them tremendously, and began to program those qualities within my internal and external being. And so this is what I'm suggesting. Now, if you have a domination event going on, such as an entity trying to take you over, or some sort of a spiritual type of darkness that is in some way trying to occupy you or to bring its awareness in front of your awareness, if you buy into this, if you're not resisting it, then that can happen to you. That level of possession can occur, and you just want to really begin to look at what you're doing and why. And one of the ways to get away from that type of a possession is to practice the qualities of kindness and love and truth and honesty and patience and determination and selfless service to others. I mean, you really have to begin to walk the path of a saint. And I know, people say, "Oh gosh, I'm no saint." And here in the United States, it's a saying that we say, well, that Chrism, he ain't no saint, or oh, that Chrism, he's a nice guy, but none of us are saints, and this type of thing. And I'm going to suggest that we are indeed saints. We are saints in the making when the Kundalini comes to us and begins to offer us these choices that we have to make with regards to how we want to present ourselves in this world. So you have to ask yourself the question, how do you want to present yourself in this world? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to be understood? Before I go much further, because I can feel she's really winding up here, I need to ask the chat room. I need to ask the chat room if the sound is coming through okay. So if somebody could type in the chat room, if the sound is coming through, then I can continue with the firm belief that I'm not just talking to the air. Let's see. I'll even ask it here, just to make sure. Sound is good. Jan bien says the sound. Okay. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Jan. Okay. All right. You can notice I couldn't spell is. Okay. So here we go. We're continuing. So how is it that you want to be seen and understood and related to in this world? What you put out from the internal part of who you are is what will be expanded by the Kundalini and how people will feel it. And this goes right back to our radiance levels and how we need to be very, very disciplined in what level of emotional expression we want to have and hold within us. That's a question. I mean, what level of expression do you want to have and hold within you? And why is it so important for you to really get a hold of your internal emotions and not allow them to be broadcast through your radiance into the internal areas of other people? I mean, that's a self-explanatory question right there. It's a self-answering question because we don't want to hurt other people. We don't want to have other people share in our anger, share in our retribution, share in our sadness, share in our grief. Some aspects of the ego will want that to be shared. You know, misery loves company. That's one of the old sayings that we have here in the United States. Is like misery loves company, and misery being, of course, you know, having a miserable time or a miserable experience, and oh gosh, we just need to share that with somebody else. What a nice thing to share. You know, to a person that you don't even know. Somebody's just walking through your radiance field, and all of a sudden they feel miserable. It's like, whoa, what was that? I was feeling really good. And then I walked past this guy at the gas station or the petrol station, and oh my geez Louise, I feel terrible now. So this level of hygiene, this level of energetic hygiene, you need to be able to make your choices, ladies and gentlemen. You need to make your choices and stick with them. You're going to go into the light or you're not. If you go into the light, then you're going to experience places where that darkness within you needs to come out. If you go into the darkness, well, then you're going to experience these areas of goodness that will not allow you to come out. It's a different deal. When you go into the darkness, you're going back into the ego. So you're kind of trying to walk your evolution backwards. When you go into the grace of divine love, well, then you're going to be purified. And in that purification process, you know, it can be very, very challenging, more challenging than I have words to express. But it is that graduation. It is that evolution from the base emotional qualities and the base egotistical qualities into the divine qualities. And there's time taken within that transition. It's not going to be all taken care of in the first 30 years of you having the Kundalini. It's not going to work that way. Sometimes it takes a much longer cleansing, a karmic detoxification that can literally last your entire life. But you get results along the way. You get very positive results along the way. You have things happen to you often in ways that shouldn't and couldn't happen. You sell your house, you sell your car, you win the lottery. I mean, you know, stuff that is outside of what you could plan on happening to you can start happening to you. I mean, it's a very, very strong level of following the golden opportunity through, you know, the desert areas of disgrace, you know, that place which is without grace, walking the ego through its purification rituals, walking the person and the egotistic self through those areas where inner control and inner discipline are the paramount activities throughout the life. You kind of ask yourself, well, what am I going to be when I grow up? And you're just thinking, well, I'm in the saint school. I'm in the school of saints. And I know that, you know, from some of the folks that I met at the last seminar in Karlsruhe, Germany, you know, they're definitely on the route to be a saint. And some of them are on the path of what it is to have to go through the levels of karmic clearing, karmic balancing, detoxification, purification that are happening. And I think this resonates literally, with the population of Kundalini people, you have to go into this understanding that there are aspects of you that need to be corrected. There are strong levels of self-correction that need to be experienced by the individual so that they can move forward. Your ego and maybe you're power tripping, or maybe you're trying to get more money, or you're trying to do anything that you can do to feed the ego. That will drop you right down into some of these darker areas. And in the darker areas, it's not so much that you're doing any consuming. It's really all about you being consumed. And you become the food. You become the fodder. You become the copper top battery, the Duracell. You become used for the energy that can be harvested within you. Whereas if you go into the divine love, the divine understanding, the divine purifications, the divine identification, you begin to be purified, and you begin through that purification process to really allow yourself to have empowerment. But it's tricky sometimes because we're looking at this from the ego, and we're looking at it just like, gosh, I just don't feel really good today. I feel horrible today. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go and drop the kids off at school, and then I got to go and meet with these people. I have to take care of, my responsibilities. Let's say you have horses. I got to go be with the horses. I got to go, I got to take the dog to the vet. I got to look at the house that I want, all of this stuff, and you just feel like crap. And you're wondering, well, what the heck is this? If I've got the Kundalini, how come I'm feeling like crap today? And the scenario is that you're going through a level of purification. You're getting the crap out of you, so to speak. But in order to get out of you, it's got to come through you. It's got to be presented to you as a feeling, even closer than an in-your-face moment. It's an in-your-body moment. And you've got to be able to say, okay, I understand. This is Kundalini. This is a purification event. This is a purification day, and I've got to go through this. And it can be a purification day. It can be a purification week, a month. It can be a purification years. It depends on what is being put out there, and it depends on what it is that the purity is displacing within you. And really, it's the displacement that makes you feel it all over again. You've got to be able to forgive yourself. You've got to be able to forgive yourself and realize, okay, all right. This is some karma that I'm going through right now. This is some sort of a thing that I have to cleanse myself of. So whatever I did, if I don't remember it, then whatever I did to earn me this level of purification, then I'm willing to accept it. And I will go into this with gratitude. I will go into this with balance. I will go into it not feeling good. Today is not a good feeling day. Today is a day that I have to suffer. Today is a day that I have to really forgive myself, forgive people that have hurt me, forgive all of these different things. And the stronger that you have the Kundalini as you go deeper into the Kundalini, well, that purification goes deeper and deeper and deeper within you. So when you help other people, you have to come into it, first of all, from a feeling of innocence. If you're reaching out and you have the Kundalini and you want to help other people, you've got to go to the innocent first, which means that if you're innocent, you can be fooled. You can be lied to, but there's a quality of the Kundalini that demands, at least within me, I can tell you how it works through me. When I'm responding to a person on the web or in person, I have to come into it like a child. I have to come into it believing what they tell me, unless it's so outrageous that I'm just kind of going, okay. But for the most part, I look at them and I try to come into it with the understanding that, hey, let's give the person the benefit of the doubt. Let's hear what they have to say. Let's give them the honest reaction that the Kundalini wants to give to them, and let it play out from there on. And, sometimes you'll get fooled because of that innocent approach. Now, sometimes I get fooled. I just terminated a help session this morning with an individual who I'd been corresponding with for about a week, and they're worried about getting incarcerated into a psych ward, and they had all these concerns, and these concerns would have been very, very relevant to Kundalini, and so they were saying all the right things that would keep me interested in trying to help them, and then they wanted to come out and visit, and they said, yeah, I just got to get out of this country that I'm in right now and fly over the United States and visit. I've got a friend in the United States, and I'll visit with them for a little bit, and then I'll fly out to San Francisco and I'll stay with you for a couple of weeks. And at first, because of that innocent quality that I have to give people the benefit of the doubt, I agreed. I said, okay, fine. And they continued to correspond with me, explaining some issues that they have. And finally, the Kundalini kind of came in and said, why don't you do a video call with them? If they're having all these issues, let's just do a video call. And the person wouldn't do the video call. They made up every excuse in the book not to do a video call. But you have to remember, they wanted to come out and visit me personally. And they started, and I started getting a red flag coming up from my Kundalini saying, insist on that. Insist on that video call first before you visit any of them in person at all. And I did insist on it. And they refused to do it again and again. And I said, it's going to be a deal breaker for me. Cancel your reservations, cancel your flight. If we don't do a video call first, I don't want to see you. And they wouldn't do it. And I said, well, then, I'm not going to see you. And then the veneer that I was being tricked came through. And I said, I won't see you. And they said, yes, you will. And I said, no, I won't. And they said, yes, you will. And I said, sorry, but I'm going to start blocking you now. And they said, you will see me in your deepest, darkest nightmares. And I said, well, whatever, blocking, boom. So this can give you an idea of as you come into Grace, and she insists on levels of truth and purity and innocence. You take the risk of being fooled, but if you listen carefully enough, if you listen to her carefully enough, she will guide you through that process with any individual that comes up with you. You've just got to be patient and inward directed so that you can feel, what is happening and how and why, and is this person being duplicitous? It will eventually come out. In most cases, I would have normally, been very open to meeting someone in person, but through my experiences, I've just come to learn that not everybody is coming at this from a truthful, loving, honest, characterization of themselves, expression of themselves, and so you have to be aware of this. There are people that have bought into darker, shadowy type of Machiavellian intricacies. They want to try to get you. They want, and by getting you, they want to try to hurt you or to discredit you or to, in some way, negate the power of grace and goodness that you're here to represent. And that doesn't just go for me. That goes for anybody here. That goes for you guys here in the chat room right now. A lot of you are really, really, really nice people. I'm going to say all of you, even though I don't know some of you guys. All of you are very, very, very nice people, and you're spreading that goodness around, and so, of course, you're going to get challenged. You'll get challenged at work. Oh, you're not doing your work well enough, and let's say that manager or the owners of the company, are themselves traveling kind of a darker path, right? oh well, let's give this guy here, let's give him a negative review and push him into responding in a certain way, which we think he will go with, but we don't know, so let's do it anyway. And then they push you that way, and they look for that response. They're looking for that, wow, okay, well, he didn't respond the way we thought, so okay, well, we're just going to move on then, or we'll try something different or something like that. And it shows also the power of your grace. So when you pass one of those tests by not, say, responding in anger or revenge or argumentatively, where you just kind of, it seems like you're meek and passive about the whole thing and striving for self-correction, you actually win in the long run. You actually accentuate your purification and accentuate your understanding of what the Kundalini in you wants to do rather than what the ego in you wants to do. So it's very important for people to understand this. It's very important for you to realize that you're going to be constantly tested by the general public if you do what I'm doing or if you're just living your life. I mean, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You can be working in a store. You can be working for an organization that does some sort of offers some sort of an informational service, like a tech company, or you can work as a doctor. You can work as an MD. You can work as a social worker. You can work as a teacher. You can work as a food handler, a waitress, a waiter. It doesn't matter. The Kundalini comes up into you and it starts to open you by virtue of exposing you to the true reality, the expanded reality. It opens you to recognition of what is occurring with you on a spiritual level, which would be the Kundalini. It's like what I've said in previous shows, that you have a red flag over you now, saying, and the red flag is waving, hi, I'm Kundalini awakened, come one, come all. So they do come and they do try to test you. And in many ways, you may fall for that test. And then, of course, you'll pay the price for falling for that test. So in the last example, let's just say the bosses came up and said, well, you're being too argumentative. Your work is not up to our standards, blah, blah, blah. And you respond in an argumentative way. When you lose the job based upon that, boom, you're paying the price of having the ego try to replace the Kundalini, having the ego try to control the expression that you're making, that you're going through, instead of allowing the Kundalini itself. I've had various people come out here to visit me in California, and almost every day, the Kundalini in me was testing these people, testing them, testing their determination to stick to the ego, or conversely, their determination to stick with the Kundalini. Constantly, every day, that they're here, they're being tested and tested and tested in order to swerve them towards allowing the Kundalini to be dominant rather than their egotism to be dominant. And, you might think that, you're walking around and doing your life, living your life, and you're walking around thinking, well, I'm pretty cool. I'm a nice guy. I don't have a lot of ego in me. I'm not really, egotistical. I'm not, trying to do this or that upon the backs of other people. Maybe a little bit, but not much. And I'm a nice guy. But it's never until you get in front of a Kundalini teacher that your egotism really begins to expose itself. Because the Kundalini in that teacher will push it out of you. You'll be squeezed like a toothpaste tube. And all of that toothpaste will be the egotism that is coming out of you. And coming out in that white, goopy, chalky type of purification. And you really have to be squeezed, my friends, to get it out. And even when you're squeezed, there's still a remnant of it within you But that remnant of the egotism within you can be trained. It can be trained to follow the approach, the higher approach that the Kundalini is guiding us towards. It's very important for you to realize that, Kundalini is really not about I'm reading the chat room here. I'm sorry. Somebody says, this conversation you told us terrified me. Did you mean it was an entity that talked to you, Master? You'll have to give me what do you mean that an entity talked to me? Entities will talk to you. It's a normal thing for them. The Kundalini will typically not use language, but entities will use words. And you shouldn't allow anything like that to terrify you. Don't. It's like being terrified of a butterfly. It's like being terrified of a worm or a certain kind of plant. I mean, don't let entities terrify you. That's just giving them power over you. Anyway, so yeah, you constantly have these things come up within you. You're going to constantly have these things come up within you and try to control you. If you move into the darker areas, if you go back into the ego and you want to have the ego amplified by the Kundalini, well, you're definitely going to pay that price. Definitely going to pay the price. And it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy price to pay. It's always going to be some sort of a hard price to pay because ego does not share power. Ego and the evilness that it can do does not share power. It only takes power. And so the darkness really only takes power. Whereas divine love and unconditional love really only gives empowerment. And so you see the two ends of the spectrum here. I mean, if you choose one way, then the power is going to be taken from you. If you choose another way, then the power is going to be given into you. But here's the thing. Here's where people get messed up, is that when the power is given into you through the divine love, the unconditional love, these types of areas, with the divine coming into you, it's pushing those negativities that you've been harboring your whole life and karmically for maybe the last 4 lives. Those qualities are being pushed out of you. And if it's a karmic thing that you've been harboring for a while, it's not going to be familiar to you, because maybe you haven't been responding to it in this life. But it's still a karma. It's still a debt that has to be paid, and it's still it's still something that we have to deal with, whether or not we recognize it at all. And so, the way this can manifest is like a person can be, okay, I got the Kundalini and geez, all of a sudden, I'm people are stealing things from me right and left. I mean, people are stealing. I haven't stolen anything from anybody my entire life, and yet, whoa, what is going on here? People are stealing from me right and left, and I can't seem to stop them, and I can't seem to catch them. And they stole my car, they stole my wallet, they stole my keys, they stole my girlfriend, they stole my boyfriend, they're stealing everything from me. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Well, that can be a karmic purification. The debt always has to be paid. What you have done in your past will get paid for by you in your present as the Kundalini comes up. Kundalini really accelerates it. It reminds me, once again, I've mentioned it in other programs, of that Chinese curse, may you meet all your karma in one life. And with the Kundalini, it strives to really, really have you clean up as much karma as you can in order to hold as much grace of itself that you can on a day-to-day basis, a day-to-day, night-to-night basis. I mean, so it's important for people to understand that as you go into the goodness, as you go into the unconditional love and the forgiveness and the surrender and the ascension qualities and the qualities of a saint, you're going to suffer a little bit, sometimes a lot, for the purification that is happening to you. And you may ask yourself, well, why does this purification have to occur? And the reason why it has to occur is you have to take out those dense areas of shadow or darkness within you in order to build the ability to hold higher vibratory rates within you, higher frequencies of grace within you. If you're going to try to hold strong divine frequencies within you, those areas of density are going to get pushed out. And that's exactly what is happening. The more of the grace that comes into you, the more areas of density are pushed out of you. And as they're pushed out of you, you're sometimes re-experiencing what it is that's being pushed out of you. And so you're going to have that bad day, that bad week, that bad month, that bad year. You're going to have a series of purifications that come to you that push these things out of you. And it must occur. It must occur. You don't want to resist it because it's painful. You don't want to resist it because it's an irritation. You don't want to resist any of this. As a matter of fact, you want to welcome it. For some of the people that are kind of like not really clued in on this, and they'll say, "Oh, bring it on, Chrism, I'm ready. Bring it on. Give me the Shakti pot. Let me have it. Full force, head blown off. Let me have it all, baby. I'm ready." They clearly don't understand what they're asking for. Clearly. And for those of you that are thinking about participating in the Shakti pot and you have that mindset about yourself, you have that mindset, it's like, yeah, baby, I've cleared it all, man. I can have the Kundalini times 10, times 1,000, times 1,000,000. You just lay it on me. I'm ready. I'm happening. I'm here with you, baby. Here, let's go. Let's ride. Let's roll. And these people are going to have a fairly difficult time, and they're going to wonder, well, they're going to project the blame on me. It's just like, geez, Chrism, what did you do, man? I'm having a horrible time with this. This ain't real Kundalini. You're a false guru. You're somebody that's just putting out there. You're putting out the bad vibes, dude. You really need to stop. You need to stop doing this. You need to sit down. You need to get all these negative entities out of you, when in fact it's the negative entities within them that are being purified. You need to, they're gonna tell me all different kinds of reasons why it's my fault and it's not their fault. They don't need to purify anything. They just need to get away from this terrible teacher that's pushing this on them. So if you have that kind of a mindset, you might want to take a step back and look at yourself and look at this amazing level of egotistic confidence that you have about yourself and how you don't need to make any corrections, that you're ready to have this full force. Because I tell you, it's not going to end well. It's not going to, that process won't go well for you because there's so much that needs to be done, and it will not be pleasant. Whereas those of you that are practicing the safety protocols, that are practicing the qualities, these qualities that I was talking to you about earlier, having that quality of loving, kind, truthful, caring, compassionate, honest, helpful, determined, surrendered, disciplined, strong, patient, trusting qualities in you. If you're practicing that in a real way, well, then you're going to have detoxifications based upon that. But there's always going to be a reward for you in this. You will realize what is happening. And if you don't get to realize right away, you just got to be determined. You've got to be self-disciplined, and you have got to trust this process within you. The more you trust this process within you, the further you go. The more surrendered you are to this process within you, the further you go. The more you practice the qualities that I just stated that are in the safeties protocols, www.kundalinisafeties.com, that's all one word, kundalinisafeties.com, will get you to this webpage, and you can read about this, and you can begin to start practicing this. For those of you that are taking Shaktipat from me, and I see a few of them there in the chat room, you really need to understand that in many ways, the Shaktipots are getting stronger and stronger. And so as they get stronger and stronger, so too will the areas of impurity be lifted from you by doing the safeties practice and by receiving Gatherfield and by receiving the Shaktipat from you. You're going to have these qualities come up, and it's not all negative. It's not all one way or the other way. It's a mixture. It's a mixture of the positive and the detoxification. Because, the Kundalini isn't really interested in scaring you away unless you need to be scared away, unless you need to, like that other person I was talking about, to be frightened by the overconfidence they have in their own egotistical abilities. She doesn't want to scare you away. She actually wants to reward you in a way for being inside of this grace. And you need to develop a different kind of memory. For the most part, we have an egotistic memory. We have an egotistical memory that just says, well, what have you done for me lately, baby? What did you do for me yesterday? What did you do for me last week? What did you do for me, 10 years ago? It's basically kind of like based on want of gain and fear of loss. Well, you did that to me 2 weeks ago, and that hurt so bad. I never want to experience that again. And so, we have an egotistical memory. I want you to change your memory, and I want you to have a memory of grace and what she has done for you, and how she has helped you live your life, how she has helped you solve the issues of karma that are coming to you, how grace has embraced you and made you feel the oneness of all that is, made you feel that incredible level of love for everything, had you and given you the opportunity to demonstrate self-correction, to demonstrate discipline, to demonstrate unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness and sincerity and patience, truth, honesty, all of these qualities. She's giving you this opportunity constantly when you have the Kundalini, and this is something that you really want to surrender to. You don't want to just, you don't want to just take it for granted and let your egotistic memory take charge of what it is that you're finding relevant in your life. You need to expand the relevancy into the Kundalini memory. Remember the out-of-body experience that she gave you. Remember the bliss. Remember the divine connection. Remember the dreams where she's had you, express your strength and express your, the truth that you are. Make the right choices within the dream life where you're helping people, you're helping yourself understand a situation. Remember the Kundalini. Have the Kundalini memory. Not so much the memory of fear of loss and want of gain. This is all ego. That's the ego memory. And you're going to have that until you learn not to have that, right? And eventually, through the Kundalini and through the process of divine embodiment, you will begin to learn really not to base so much on that level of memory. You've got to understand. So this is really important. Change your memory. Let the dominant memory be the Kundalini memory. How she made you feel so happy, so joyful, so buoyant, so understanding, so connected, so imbued with the divine grace that you just cannot even contain it. You have to express it. You have to walk with heavenly footsteps. You have to look at others from heavenly eyes and divine intuition and divine devotion, seeing the God and the Goddess in everything, not just people, but plants and animals and the earth, the air, the sun, the wind. All of these qualities are also expressions of the divine embodiment. You've got to be able to experience that and to recognize that and to remember that. You've got to remember it. If you just hang on to your egotistic memory, then you're just going to hang on to ego. You're just going to hang on to the ego, and that's going to drive you deeper into density. And once again, you'll have to go through these layers of density detoxification that, push you into removing those qualities from your grace as grace moves in and begins to embody who you are. Understand? This is really the case. Now, when we go to a seminar, when you go to, say, like one of my seminars, one of the best things about the seminar is what happens when it's over. During the seminar, you're going to feel this infusion of energy. You're going to, the people that come to these seminars are really outstanding people. I mean, they're just, in my opinion, they're the cream of the crop of humanity, which is really where Kundalini starts, is when you really are in that level of purity. And as you go through the seminar and you do all the exercises and you listen to that speaker just drone on and on and on in a monotonous voice, oh my God, and if you can stay awake during that, when the seminar is finished and the Shaktipat has been given, a huge surge of purification can come through you. A huge surge, and a huge chunk of impurity can be released out of you. And of course, as it's released out of you, it can become part of your expression if you allow it. If you're not paying attention and you just kind of like allow whatever detoxification to come forward to be spilled onto those around you, well then, people can kind of go, oh, Jesus, what happened to that person? My God in heaven, like, listen to that. And this happens over and over and over again. It happened in the last three seminars. And it's very, very, very good for that person to have that chunk of impurity taken out of them. And yet it's even better for them to realize that it's going to occur, and through that occurrence to make the changes and employ the shifting that is necessary for that impurity to become inert, to let that impurity be an inert quality. Now it doesn't, the energy has been drained. You got to self-forgive. Number one, you got to self-forgive. If you allow that to seep out of you into your radiance, which allows it to be experienced by other people, right? We're back to our radiance hygiene here. And as we, as that chunk of detox comes through, you experience it and you let it go. You just let it go. It doesn't. You do not own that anymore. Divinity has displaced it. It does not need to be responded to. This is something that I'll be teaching in every seminar from now forward, because part of it is my fault, just as a teacher, not letting people know that. I mean, I have let people know, but I haven't I haven't made it as strong a priority as I'll be making it in all seminars in the future. This new, the Karlsruhe seminar that we're going to have in October 20th and 21st, 2018, I'll be pushing it there. I'll be pushing it in some of the other venues that are coming up as well. And so it's important for people to understand that these seminars cause detox. Detoxification can be withstood. You've got to understand you came to a seminar by virtue of your own Kundalini. Your own Kundalini is directing you to go to a seminar. And in that seminar, with the Shaktipat, with the exercises, with all the Kundalini active and awakened people there, a big chunk of detox is going to be let loose, and you can just allow it to go without becoming what it once was. So, big chunk of detox, just a big anger. Let's see if it's a big chunk of anger. You can just let that seep out of you. Don't let it affect you. Let it go. Let it go, and let the divine embodiment fill that area. And so you feel more the divine embodiment than you feel that which it has displaced. And this can, with anger, with competition, with grief and grieving, with all the different qualities of pain that we experience or irritation that we experience. This can be the better way to handle it. And boy, I tell you what, when you have that divine embodiment be the focus of your expression, you are walking on air. It is the most beautiful, the most powerful, the most beyond words experience I can tell you. It's like being high on the best feeling of completion and oneness and happiness and wholeness and love and forgiveness and truth that you can experience. It is beyond words in so many ways. It's beyond words. And so you really need to make the choice, though, to come into this from a positive point of view, from a lightness, from a less dense understanding of how things are. And I'm going to go over here and check the studio. And I do have one person in the studio, and I want to go up here and click on them. Hello, you're on the air with Chrism. How are you? This is 651-329. Hello.
Hello?
Hi. Who am I talking with?
This is Rosemary Chrism.
Hi, Rosemary Chrism. How are you?
I did not realize I was on the other side. I'm here listening. I heard what you were saying, and I was saying, oh, okay.
Okay, all right then. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you listen, continue to listen then. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't, something else going on, okay?
Not from here.
Putting you in the blue. Thank you, my dear. Good to see that you're listening. Good to hear that you're listening. So if you have any questions about this, I want you to feel free to call in. The call-in number is 347-934-0026. That's a New York City area code, 347. And then the prefix is 934, and the number is 0026. If you're calling internationally, well, you can just call in internationally, and you can either get hooked up here, or you can just, dial 01 and then 347-934-0026. So there you have it, folks. If you have a question in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen, just ask. I'm going to write that. Just ask. Here you go. And so if you do have any kind of a question that you want to put to me that maybe, you haven't thought of before, or that hasn't been coming to you before, then I'm going to suggest that you just ask me. Amelia, as I mentioned before, is having some problems getting on the internet, so I don't think she'll be joining us today. Atlanta Seeker says, she asked this question: can one's transcendence of fear of loss, want of gain, ever go too far? No. Not within the Kundalini. Okay. Now, she's giving me an example. If you go bankrupt because you failed to make sure your income matches or exceeds expenses, is that a problem? Well, that whole example is a fear of loss or want of gain scenario. So you go bankrupt because you failed to make sure your income matches or exceeds expenses. Well, that whole idea of expenses is want of gain. That whole idea of failure to make sure your income matches or exceeds expenses is also a fear of loss. So, so she's using that as an example, and that's also an example of a lack of self-discipline. That's an example of living beyond your means, which is a form of a lie, L-I-E. And so, this is where a lot of the people that are going into transcendence begin to detach from these issues. They detach from having to own or to be attached to the worldly goods and items, And I'm not suggesting that you do that here in the West right now, because the West does not have any kind of a support system that would help you to live, say as a hermit in the cave in the Sierra Mountains here in the United States, the far West United States. You would have to kind of make other arrangements, and even if you're in Tibet, let's say you're in Tibet, and you're in a monastery in Tibet, and you've decided you're going to do the hermit thing, right? And so you're in a cave in the mountain. You have had to make arrangements with people to give you food and water. You've had to make those arrangements, okay? You cannot fail to make those arrangements. So you're still attached to the body. You're still attached to others giving you a service. And this is important for people to understand, is that, yes, you still, in most ways, you're still going to have a job. You're still going to have a job, and you don't want to live beyond the means that job gives you. So, if you're not living beyond your means, then you're not going to go bankrupt, okay? Because you're not going to fail to make sure that your debits, don't crowd out, the credits that you have, and that's not a problem of the ego so much. That's a problem. Well, it is a problem of the ego, and it's a problem that I see many people running into when they're coming into transcendence, because they're shifting from a material-based mentality to a spiritual-based mentality, and that shifting can entail a level of a lack of appreciation, shall we say, for the finer qualities of what it is to make the business run. Now, I was just reading something on the web. I hesitate to bring it up. It's a terrible business. That's what I'm going to say. It's a terrible, terrible, horrible business, but it brings them cash, right? And they don't feel good about it, but it brings them cash, right? And so the Kundalini would come in and begin to pull them away from that terrible business, that hurtful business, and they would no longer have cash, and so they would have to find another source of income, and that drives the whole ego thing too: fear of loss, want of gain, right? With the bankruptcies, she will either want you to be changing the work that you do, or on the other hand, you will still need to pay close attention, and you will need to see the divine hand in keeping your finances and your ability to make sure your income matches or exceeds expenses. Here I am, I've had Kundalini all these years, I still got to go to the bank and look at my account. I still got to not spend my, I can't have my account damaged by, exceeding what I have there. This is why I have a debit card. Debit card. Debit card, once it's gone, ladies and gentlemen. There's no doing the whole credit thing. It's gone. And so you're forced, from that perspective, to keep an accurate accounting of what's going on there. But a person like, say, a person who's a teacher or a doctor or a dentist or a policeman or a garbage collector, or any position where you're paying the rent, you're paying the car payment. If you have a mortgage, you're paying the mortgage, you're buying the food. If you have kids, then you're dressing the kids, you're getting them, everything that they need, including toys and entertainment, things like that. You've got the phone bill, you've got the gas bill, you've got the sewage bill, you've got the garbage bill. You've got all of these different bills. Oh, and you have property tax if you live here in the States, and, whatever that's going to be per year. And, and so you have these payments that you have to make. Yes, my friend, just because you have Kundalini doesn't mean you don't sit down at the desk and pay those bills. This is how we survive in this society, and it has to be done. And so, of course, if she allows you to become so deeply involved with the transcendence, then you're going to lose some of these things. You're going to lose the house. You're going to lose the car unless you're not, you already own it. And same with the house, unless you already own the house. You may lose in many ways. And those people who depend upon you may lose in many ways. And so this is the level of discipline that a person has to have, the level of truth. What is it to be of service? What is it to be of loving service? What is it to you to be honest? If you're going bankrupt because you failed to make sure your income matches or exceeds your expenses, are you being honest? Or are you being lazy? And you notice I've never said laziness is the quality of that grace is pushing you towards. Not at all. You've got to get up and you've got to mow the lawn. You've got to do the work. You've got to do your job. And that job is, here's something that's coming to me about this right now. How to have the Kundalini and have your job at the same time. Many of the pressures and the expectations and the work ethic and all of these qualities that you experience daily from your job are there because the Kundalini wants you to express them in a positive and fruitful manner. Kundalini wants you to do your job and to do it very well. Inside of the workplace environment, there are many opportunities for a person to practice the qualities of being loving and kind and truthful, caring, compassionate, to be honest and helpful and determined and surrendered and disciplined, strong, patient, trusting, truthful. The workplace is a perfect school for those qualities to be expressed through. A perfect school for that. And I just want people to understand that oh my gosh, I'm having transcendent symptoms. I'm becoming, divinely empowered. I'm becoming a divine embodiment. Does that mean I have to stop, doing my job? Well, sometimes it does. Yes, indeed. Sometimes she wants you to change. Doesn't mean you stop working. Maybe it means that you just stop working in that one area. So instead of being a garbage collector, maybe it's time for you to become a social worker or, someone who is a psychologist. Well, maybe not that, because that's just absolutely, never mind. They don't recognize Kundalini. So I have a bit of a problem with them, but some of them do. I got to give them credit. But whatever job that it is that she's directing you towards, and it can be really difficult. It can be really difficult to discern what that job is, because now you're fighting with the fear of loss and the want of gain aspect of the ego. Well, do I want to be a used car salesman or do I want to be a high fashion model? So, what's going to pay this month's rent? You know what I'm saying? And this is where, once again, you must trust. You must trust. Okay? You must trust the Kundalini. And you'll see that maybe at the last minute, right, it's coming down to 2 weeks and the rent is due and you don't have it. You're like, oh my God, the rent is due and I don't have it. And all of a sudden it'll come through and some sort of a situation will develop where you have the money to pay that rent, or your house just sold, and now instead of having, $1,500 in your checking account, you have $350,000 in your checking account because the house closed. Now you can find the other place she wants you to live in, or, the other area, the other job, whatever. You have a cushion there. And so, this is all about the fear of loss and want of gain, but also the Kundalini will use the fear of loss and want of gain as a way of directing you into specific situations that will allow you to trust her and to surrender to the grace, the divine mother we're talking about, the divine mother and father. You don't get to be irresponsible and think that you're developing grace through your irresponsibility. I want to make that clear. Interpreted as responsible or irresponsible is open, because a person having the Kundalini and wanting to quit their perfectly fine job because the Kundalini is directing them to will seem from the outside and the unawakened individual as a very, very irresponsible action. And if you have a spouse that, you know, is happy with the house, happy with your job, happy with how the kids are being raised, all the needs are being met, and all of a sudden the Kundalini says, no, 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 you have got to change your job. And that spouse is going, WTF are you doing? Yeah, that can develop into a situation within that marriage. And you've got to trust, my friends. You've got to trust the Kundalini. She's not there to disrupt your marriage unless that marriage needs to be disrupted. And I want to thank you for that question, Atlanta Seeker. As always, you come in with a very astute perspective. I'm going to go over here on Facebook and see if there are questions here. Let's see here. Oh, boy. Oh, jeez. All right. Beware of masturbation. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Just some more shit. Yeah. Oh, does it again. Yep. There we go. Once again. There we go. Okay. So, yeah. You know, it's just a continuation of the people that are having problems. Yeah, so really, really work with the Kundalini, and don't let those chunks of detoxification become your expression. Realize what is occurring. Realize how it's suddenly occurring. Typically, it's a sudden thing. And just let it go. Forgive. And allow yourself to walk with the grace that is being given to you on a constant level. When you do the Shaktipat here, the online Shaktipat, or the one at the seminar, really, really open yourself to receive and to have those impurities dislodged. Really, really allow yourself to receive and have those impurities dislodged. Don't feel that you need to become those impurities all over again. The option will be there because you'll be feeling it, and the ego will want to express it because it'll come out as a form of discomfort in some way, shape, or form. Atlanta Seeker also asks, she says, is the experience of visual phenomena that coordinate or move in synchronization with the sensation of the movement of the Kundalini within a sign of closer to Kundalini awakening? Let me read that again. Is the experience of visual phenomena that coordinate with the sensation of movement of the Kundalini? Yeah, it can be. Yeah, definitely. Yep. I will give that a yes. It can be. It doesn't always mean that it is. But why else would it be moving in sync with the sensation of movement of the Kundalini? What else would happen? I mean, I'm like a nervous tick, or it's visual phenomena. So if you're seeing visual phenomena with the sensation of the movement of Kundalini, it is definitely a sign of Kundalini moving closer to you. Okay, it's starting to move in sync with the visual, so that's good. Another good question, Atlanta Seeker. Thank you very much. Anybody else on the chat room have a question? Please feel free to ask, because this is a monologue. It's, you know, I'm going to be terminating this in a little bit because I don't have the questions that Amelia has to ask, and so I'm also looking here right now Mohan is making an announcement on Facebook. He says, He says, planning to arrange for a Kundalini Awakening seminar in India in mid-2019, looking for a number of people who would be interested to travel for the seminar to a particular city. And currently he's looking at Hyderabad and Mumbai as cities that would be possibilities for that. And we already have a few people that are interested in it. So so there we have it. There is a seminar for India, the very first one in India, being organized by Mohan Nune, and he's on Facebook. It's Mohan, and his last name is spelled capital Nune. And so it's something for people that are living in India. Finally, it's been like, 1,000 years, and people have been interested in having a seminar in India. So for those of you that are interested in that, live in India or in some of the surrounding areas like Pakistan or Sri Lanka or any of the areas that would be close enough for people traveling to India. I understand that India is a subcontinent, so I would suggest that most of the people there are from India. But so I'm looking at this and I don't see a lot of questions being asked here. So one of the things that I want to state is this. Kundalini is so strong that when you have it and what becomes intermixed within the day-to-day reality can be so incredibly big, so amazingly vast in its appreciation. It literally is. It boggles the mind on how what a gift the Kundalini is, because within the Kundalini, reality upon reality upon reality is interacted with beyond the limitations of the five sense dependent human. It is literally within these fields of interaction that our karma and our choices are carried out upon us. And think about that. I mean, think about what that means. Our karma is carried out upon us really only within the idea of having a body. And so our karma and our choices really, this is the clearing zone, folks. This is where we are clearing those areas to become at one within the divine embodiment. And everything that I've been talking about in this huge monologue is all about that clearance, is all about that purification. Do not think that you can discern the purpose of your existence based upon the limited expression or the unawakened expression. You really can't think that you can know. When you're blinded to your karma, and because you're blinded to your karma, you're also blinded to your potential. Okay? So much of what occurs for us within the Kundalini has to come from our trust within God or Goddess or the divine ramifications of our existence. And, God and Goddess in whatever religion or, as it comes to us within the Kundalini, these are the sources of the grace that really we have to buy into on an intuitive level. Most of us that are having Kundalini, that are deep into the Kundalini, have had experiences of this throughout our lives. We've been guided and directed in certain ways to do certain things, to remove impurities of a karmic nature, to remove impurities of an egotistic current life nature. At the same time that we're doing that, we are also being guided to accept greater levels of grace within us in ways that we wouldn't know from reading books or from our society or from anything other than us giving ourselves the permission to go into the divine enlightenment. And this is where many of you are right now. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way, but you must reach certain levels of this in order to see further levels. In other words, you got to climb up the ladder of Kundalini detoxification, of Kundalini purification, to see more of what it is that divinity is doing with you. You've got to really, because, we're still unique. I mean, even though we're having the Kundalini and we're in the transcendence and we're inside the ascendancy, we're still the people we are. We're still the unique individuals that we are, that have this unique karma, that have this unique mindset, that, we are still who we are. We're just moving into levels of extreme grace that is not it's not taking away our individuality. We're not going to lose our individuality because we know that all is one. Okay, that's not a necessity. I'm sure for some it can be that way, but within the Kundalini, and the Kundalini is telling me it is not the necessity that we lose our self-identity. We're not losing it, we're expanding it. It's going much further than one could ever imagine it going. So that's something for people to think about. So you must reach, certain levels in order to see further levels. And Kundalini is the way, and it is that truth that leads to further truths about yourself. So really, you might want to take out of your consciousness these mundane homilies that attempt to describe, that which is beyond the veil. So, for instance, the New Age things like, I'm trying to think of one right now because I've taken them out. I'm sure you can provide them for yourself. If you know what I'm talking about, there are no easy answers to the infinite combinations of grace. And so no little homily that, a catechism that a church would give, or a religion would give, or, a New Age type of thing would give, like, to say all is one. It's like everything is one, and you hear this quite a bit. Everything is one. We are all one. Well, no, we are one and we are unique at the same time. We are not all one. It is not, we're not all mayonnaise. Okay? Some of us are mustard. And then some of us are deli mustard, and some of us are yellow mustard, and some of us are spicy mustard. We're not all mayonnaise. Now, we can have them both on the same sandwich, but that doesn't mean that we are just one thing. These people that say, oh, we are one, we are one, we are one. Well, we're not all one. We are diverse. We're diversity within singularity. Plurality within singularity. So I'm going to go back to the chat room, see if anybody has asked another question there. Infinite combinations of grace. Yes. And coming in. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has called in to listen and who has come to the chat room. I'm going to go ahead and end this now. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. I will be back here next Wednesday, same time, same Kundalini time, same Kundalini station, same Kundalini conversation. And I want to thank you all for joining me here this day. And I'll go ahead and end it like I started. I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat room. Thank you. Chat room. Oh, I got to spell thank you. I spend most of my time in spell check. Here we are. Thank you, chat room. And thank you, everybody who called in. And we'll see you next week. And so here we go.